That's why it's so important to start with strategy. When you are starting out in business, or when you are, ready to evolve, or, maybe you're ready to scale, wherever stage you are, go back to strategy all the time, review it, and review your values. Have they evolved? Do you need to think about that? Because all of it connects. And as a founder, your personal brand is also such a huge part of this too, because who you are, how you show up, is also going to attract magnetically the right clients to you.
Are you a professional perfectionist?
What's your plan right now? And is it actually taking you to where you want to go?
If you are feeling stuck about your niche, listen to this conversation. We are going to help you get unstuck, because there is so many joys around niching and understanding who you serve and why you serve them and what pleasure and joys it brings you. And we're going to talk right about that today, because niching doesn't have to be a headache. Niching doesn't have to be a burden. But yet we see so many entrepreneurs from across industries stuck because they say they don't know their niche. They don't know who they're talking to. They don't want to niche down. Laura, truth?
So completely true. The fear of reducing your market share is such a big one for most entrepreneurs. We just feel like, oh, if I niche down to something too specific, then there just won't be enough people to buy my product or use my service, and then I will run out of customers and go under, right? If that's not literally in your head, it is in your subconscious. We know it because we've talked to so many entrepreneurs on this podcast and through all the different programs that we've hosted. And we see it over and over again. This is the spot that most people get stuck in. They don't want to niche down. They want to sell to everybody. But as we know, when you try to speak to everybody, it's like shouting in a crowd. No one knows you're actually talking to them, and therefore they're less likely to connect with you and to want to purchase from you. So while you feel like it's the safer route, it's actually the one that hurts your business the most. But why do people get stuck here, Vicki? Like, what holds people back? What's the mindset issue that holds people back from pushing down?
Well, as you were talking, the big word scarcity, right? If we feel like we can't narrow down our message and we only want to serve a narrow market, if we don't want to do that, it's a scarcity mindset. It simply means that you are fearful that there won't be enough business to serve you. And then when you look at that logically, it becomes amusing, because when I talk to entrepreneurs in Australia and they have the same concern as they do entrepreneurs in Bermuda, 60,000, 65,000 people in Bermuda and 25 million people in Australia, and we all share the same concerns. How many clients do you actually need? Unless you're a Chinese manufacturing firm, you don't need millions of clients. Quite often, the entrepreneurs we work with, maybe 50 good clients, maybe 100, and then I'm thinking of some others that are more product-based. They'd be happy with a couple of thousand would be great.
Yeah. And think a couple of thousand loyal customers that come back over and over and over and refer you to others that are just like them are the absolute best. And if you speak your messaging directly to that 1,000 customers in a way that they know what you have is just for them, it feels special. It feels like you know them. They feel so good about your brand that they want to tell others about it. They want to share it. They want to buy it as Christmas gifts for their friends. And that is so much more valuable than trying to reach hundreds of thousands of people in your marketing in the hopes that you get those 1,000 customers.
And think about it from the client perspective. When you're a client or a customer, how do you like to be spoken to? Do you want to just be in a whitewash of noise? Are you going to buy from that person, from that company? Or are you going to buy from the company or person who feels like you have a personal relationship with them? You may never have met them in person, but you've seen them online. You've received emails from them over the course of months, sometimes a year, and you really feel like you know them. Are you going to buy from that person or an ad that's just talking to everybody? You probably won't even notice the ad, in fairness. You probably won't even notice it. This is the thing. If we're not speaking directly to one person, when we do our messaging and our marketing, we speak to one person. And if we're not doing that, then we're really missing the mark.
Yeah. And that is where the frustration lies with anybody that does advertising for their business, because you end up spending so much more time and so much more money trying to reach people with such little return on investment that it gets frustrating and expensive, and sometimes can be the undoing for a lot of small businesses just because they were afraid to get more clued in on their messaging directly to the right person. You're finding your ideal client avatar. It can feel like, oh my God, I'm excluding so many people. But in truth, you want to, because there's so much noise out there in the market. There's so many people on social media and so many brands vying for everyone's attention that to get any sort of cut through, if you're generic, you're just going to be skipped. Like you said, you just scroll on past it, you don't even notice it. But if you're talking directly to that exact right, perfect client, and they see themselves in your ad, then you're much higher conversion rate just by simply doing
Yes. If you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing.
that. Yeah. And it just there, I mean, there's two ways people niche, right? You can choose to niche where you pick a very particular client avatar and go really deep on that. And you speak only to them over and over consistently in all of your messaging. That feels scary for a lot of people. I understand that, because they often feel like that's it. I am married to this. And if this doesn't work and I've sunk it all in this, I'm doomed. I'm done. What's my chances of survival? Versus the second way, which is sort of the spray and hope for the best method, where you try to reach as many different niches, and maybe you target your marketing to different specific niches, but you've picked 4 or 5 of them in hopes that they're all going to work out, or a few of them will work out, or maybe one of them will work out. It can be a faster way to test the market. There's some goodness in that, in terms of maybe you will get clear on your niche if you really don't have any idea what your niche should be. Like if you're really, really first starting out and you really want to test who am I most likely to attract, then you can sort of do that. It's more expensive, more time consuming. You will really have to watch your analytics and figure out what's working, but it can work. It just depends which route you want to take.
I must say, I'm not a big fan of the spread yourself thin method, because imagine if you needed to service clients. Imagine if all 3 niches, just 3 that you were testing, all took off. If there was interest in all of them, then you're trying to service 3 different markets. And unless your product is such, like, let's say you have a gym. That was an example we've used in previous times. So if you have a gym and you're marketing to 3 different markets, great, because you're actually doing market testing. But the gym is still the gym. This gym still has the same equipment, the same instructors, the same overheads. So that's market testing. If you're going to rather have a niche gym just for women and you want to, I don't know, have the decor very feminine, and so your actually service delivery is more into the niche, then it could get very expensive, confusing, and overwhelming to try different niches. You'd need to stay within that feminine niche. I don't know if that was a good example.
I was going to say, it highlights a good point though, because if you do want to attract women and you do have that sort of decor, those women are going to come to the gym and then they're going to find their community within that space. And I really think right now it's really important for us to have experiences and to feel really good about those experiences, because so much has taught us over the last few years that we do want to be in person and we do want to be within community. We have missed that. When we were separated from community, but the need to go back to it's been even greater. And it's showing all around the world. And if you start looking at businesses and how they're operating, they're trying to find ways to bring communities together. So when you bring a community together, you want to be really clear about who's in that community, because then when people show up and they see that that is exactly the community they want to be in, they're going to stay. But if you're trying to attract lots of different types of people into one community space, then unless there's a common something denominator for them to want to stay, the likelihood of them staying is very low. And while it might be successful in the startup because you can bring a lot of people in, the likelihood of them lasting over a long period of time diminishes. So you get diminishing returns. So you really have to think about that. What type of space are you trying to create?
And what kind of client experience is important to you? So what you've just shared is about culture. You're creating a culture for your clients. And also from culture is values. You build your culture based on your values. So wouldn't it be true that if, as you're deciding which niche to serve, you would align it with your values? Because then you're always working with people who feel great to be around for you, people who you love to wake up thinking, I get to do this today. So all of a sudden, niching is less about a mental game of who should I serve versus a heart game of who would I love to serve? What feels right for me? What's a fit? And now all of a sudden, it doesn't feel so hard to decide. It's a little bit like, I like to say, you date your niche. So if you're looking for love and you're going on a date and you think the person who you're going on a date with is everything you ever dreamed of and you're excited about the date, fantastic. So you go in, you go all in, you bring your heart on your sleeve, you be you show up as your best self, you do everything you can to see if this is a good match. And this is ultimately what we're talking about when we're niching. It's about matching. Who's a match for you and who are you a match for? And sometimes the date doesn't work out. And that's okay, because then you find someone else to go on a date with. And that's what we do with our niche. It's so okay to shift niches. It's so okay to put in the market, I'm serving this community. And then 6 months later or less, change your marketing. I'm now serving this community. People don't remember what you did. People don't remember. They only see what's in front of them now. So don't get caught up in thinking, well, I was marketing myself as this. Now I've done this switch. Fantastic. Go you. Switch as much as you feel you need to until you can feel that it's a good fit for you and your client. And then imagine the client experience you want to create for them. And that is the cornerstone of a really thriving business.
Exactly, exactly. And I love the alignment of your values to yourself, your business, and also your clients. That's why it's so important to start with strategy. When you are starting out in business, or when you are, ready to evolve, or, maybe you're ready to scale, wherever stage you are, go back to strategy all the time, review it, and review your values. Have they evolved? Do you need to think about that? Because all of it connects. And as a founder, your personal brand is also such a huge part of this too, because who you are, how you show up, is also going to attract magnetically the right clients to you and customers, either if it's a product or service, either way. But you're still magnetically attracting them to you, which is why when you show up with your personal brand in a way that tells people who you are and what's important to you, what you value, what mission you're on, right? All these are part of your strategy, the foundational part of your business. When you let people know these and you're consistent with it, over time, it just draws everyone in. And then niching isn't this thing you have to figure out. It becomes natural because you realize you are attracting the right people to you. So marketing is always a big experiment. And that's the message I really want people to understand. Like, stop overthinking it, over worrying about it. Am I doing it right? It's just an experiment. Keep putting things out there, keep pulling people towards you, keep figuring it out, but focus on your strategy so that you're clear on the messaging you're sharing with the world. And when you're clear on that, and you repeat it consistently over time, success follows that naturally. Do you agree?
Mm, absolutely. Absolutely. And it just reminds me that everything falls out of our values. So, strategy is the overall word for all of this stuff. Everything we're talking about is part of your strategy building. And whenever we're stuck, regardless of what we're stuck with, the key to being unstuck is to chunk ourselves up to that higher level, that what happened before I was stuck. So if you're stuck in your niche, think about your values. Think about why you're in it in the first place. Why does this business matter to you? Why is this something that you love to do? Drop into your heart and realize, bring yourself back into the picture. Because we only get stuck when we're in our head. When we're in our head, we're dead. We only get stuck when we're in our head. And we're in our head when we're trying to be something. We're trying to fit a mold. Yet, when we're not in our head, we can be unstuck by thinking back to who we are and why. It all starts there. And then everything else just falls into place, doesn't it? Once you have your values, you know who you are, you know why you're doing it, everything else falls into place.
Yeah, that's perfect advice. Perfect advice. Fall back onto your values, let it drive everything you do and how you show up in the world, because people are just going to align with that or not. And the best marketing is magnetic. It either pulls people in or repels people away. And that's exactly what you want. And that's why niching down will always work. Don't be afraid of it. Lean back on your values, get back to strategy, and play, experiment, try it out. You let it evolve. We're just dating here, folks. We're not marrying our niche. So have some fun, find the right one, and go all in. It's the most successful strategy that the best in the business always do.